Welcome back to Relax Radio. And hey, this is Nick. And COVID costs push government borrowing to the highest since World War II. So, yeah, the costs of measures to support the economy during the coronavirus pandemic has pushed the government borrowing to the highest level since the end of World War II. And yeah, in case you guys are wondering what this is all about and who this is, well, my name is Nick. I'm keeping you guys company on a Real Talk right here on Relax Radio and giving you a little bit of an insight into how we operate right here at Relax Radio. Here is a little snippet, so check this out. That's right. That's what we are at Relax Radio. Make sure you guys follow us on our webpage, which is www.relaxradio.net. And also don't forget, you can download the app all the way in the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. And hey, and we got a lot of great stuff, a lot of great conversation happening. And in case you guys are, a little bit chatty and you want to talk to me, hey, you can always call me up on those numbers. It is 07852-473-473. That's right. You can always join me up. And what is happening right now in the UK? Well, the costs of these measures, like I said, to support the economy during the coronavirus pandemic has pushed the government borrowing to the highest level since the end of World War II. So yeah, government borrowing. So the difference is between spending and tax income has hit 303.1 billion this year in the beginning of March. So yeah, this is by all, these statistics were shown by the Office for National Statistics. So yeah, compared to the previous year, borrowing is nearly 250 billion pounds higher. Yeah, that is a lot of money right there involved. It's relatable if you really look at things the way it is right now, looking at all the things that is going on, what with the pandemic happening and, with the roadmap happening and getting all the vaccine indoors and the healthcare providers, providing all the healthcares with the adequate, pay as well as overtime and all of that stuff that is going on. It just goes to show, and especially with people losing their jobs, it just goes to show why the rate is even higher than previously. So yeah, these measures such as furlough payments have hit government finances super hard. So yeah, borrowing hit 28 billion in March alone, a record high for that month. So yeah, despite a lot of these figures though, the record figure, Paul Johnson, the director of the Institute for Fiscal Studies, has said that the annual borrowing figure was slightly better than expected a month ago. So yeah, a month ago, with the vaccines and all not being properly rolled out, there was a lot of these issues going on and people were not quite 100% sure, whether we should invest or not with this. And this is just one of the reasons why this was it's improving. The situation is improving. It is getting better. I mean, in my opinion, it looks like it is getting better with what is going on right now. And yeah, it's just just goes to show what is happening. So yeah, what he says is, he further states that the big story in a sense is that they are 250 billion pounds more than a year ago. So, and that is, of course, because of, to some extent, the recession of the last year, but mostly because of the huge amount of additional government spending to support the economy over the last year. Yeah, if you really look at it, like I said, it's all got to do with the spending that the government has to do with all the people losing their jobs and people struggling. There's not enough jobs in the market. And what with the health force, the workforce, being rushed in, and there's been a surge of people, looking for, like, especially when it comes there's been a surge of cases over the past year. Well, it just goes to show why the amount of borrowing that the government is doing, the UK government is doing right now, is going on. So yeah, it's also, for starters, it's not 400 billion as anticipated though. They expected to be 400 billion pounds. That's what they expected. That's what the kind of graph they were trying to figure out. Though the number will go up when COVID support loans fail to be repaid. So yeah, obviously, I mean, with loans come interest, and with interest comes more, bigger loans, and that's just how it is. So it causes, it's because it's, been primarily an active government decision to spend more to support incomes during the pandemic. A lot of these businesses were hit hard, were hit real hard when it came down to the pandemic, and how people are, accepting it. So of the 250 billion pound difference in borrowing this year and last, over 200 billion pound comes from extra spending, and the rest on reduction in taxes. So yeah, in the latest report month, March, taxes were barely down on last year, whereas the VAT for fuel duty and business rates were down. Self-assessment, pay, and stamp duty and capital gain taxes were all up. So yeah, that is just a part of a wider trend of the government riding the second lockdown much more effectively than the first. I mean, if you compare to the first lockdown, a lot of us were not, a lot of countries, especially a lot of the government, a lot of countries from other governments were not prepared for this pandemic. It just hit us like a bombshell out of the blue. We didn't even know what was going on. We didn't know I can guarantee right now we are armed with the knowledge. So with the knowledge comes the fact that, we can arm ourselves more effectively, more efficiently rather, with a wide range of different ways to tackle the issues. And it's just to show that, when this happened, a lot of the people were stuck without jobs. A lot of people were struggling, and it just goes to show why the amount of the country, why they were borrowing so much money right now, and now why there's still an expected projection, a projection, and why it will be increasing even more if these loans are not paid up. So yeah, this is the COVID support loans. So yeah, the ONS also suggested Britons wanted to look good and deck out their gardens ahead of some restrictions being lifted, and others, less charitable, suggested lockdown excess meant our clothes no longer fit. I mean, that is also kind of a trouble as well, where people had that kind of issue. You put on weight because you're stuck at home, you had nothing to do. I mean, it's just the situation at hand. There's out of everyone's power, out of anyone's control. So yeah, the chancellor's slimming regime for the public finances is essentially a gentle one. So borrowing is predicted to continue a high level this year as job supports continues until the autumn, and massive tax cuts are meant to persuade companies to invest in plant and machineries. So yeah, it's just, a rebounding growth that will most effectively shrink, these record borrowing numbers. That is why amid the sea of this red ink, there is some reason for relief. I mean, hey, the measures to support individuals and businesses during the pandemic contributed to a 203 billion pound on or 27.5% increase in the central government day-to-day spending in the year of March. So yeah, that's just goes to show, why a lot of this is going crazy, why there is so much of this, when it comes down to borrowing the money, why the struggle is going on and what the government is doing actually with that money. So a lot of the taxes, though, and national insurance receipts fell by 34.9 billion pounds, and that's down to 5% compared with the last 12 months. Within the last 12 months, this is what happens, And the ONS also said that public borrowing as a percentage of the GDP or national outpost rose to 14.5%, also the highest since the end of the Second World War, when it reached 15.2% in 1946. So yeah, back in 1946, there were other issues also with regards to this. This is one of the reasons why, as the percentage of the GDP, it rose. This is why it increased, and this huge amount of borrowing over the last year has been pushed public sector's debts up to 2.1 trillion pounds. I mean, the debt that we are incurred right now, and this is essentially 97.7% of the GDP, a rate not seen since the early 1960s. So yeah, that is just, it is amazing to see that there is so much of this going on, and there's so much of the loans, especially when it comes to the loans, how much our country owns, a lot, how much debt we have when it comes to the other countries across the world, and how much we loan. But at the same time, we got to understand that it's out of our hand. This is not something that a lot of people predicted. It's not foreseen. We did not expect something like this. What with the sudden lockdowns and how businesses were affected. I mean, it just goes to show why there is a huge amount of borrowing money. This is one of the reasons, though. So yeah, this separate search published on Friday added hopes of a swift rebound. I mean, they're expecting to get back from this for the economy, and it's been suggested, that the easing of this lockdown measures essentially this month has triggered the surge in activity among UK businesses. So yeah, there's been a little bit of a pickup if you really look at things right now in the UK, and it's mostly got to do with the restrictions being eased out. With what the restrictions being eased out and bars opening in again. Although you cannot go indoors yet, it's going to be outdoors for the meantime. Until that time, though, it's because of that there's this somewhat of a surge when it comes to activity in the UK. They're trying to get back into normalcy, and this is just understandable with what is going on. So it just goes to show time is the healer of all things. That's what I gotta say. If you really look at it, I mean, hey, if you can argue with me, you can tell me what you think, you can tell me what you want, but it is the same. And if you have any thoughts on this matter, you can always hit me up and you can call me and let me know. The numbers, it is 07852 473 473. But with that being said, though, we are gonna be taking a quick break, but we'll be right back after this and taking a look at your time right now. It is 4:01. Good evening.